Today, we are going to discuss one of the most pressing economic challenges India faces its trade deficit and weak exports. As one of the world's fastest growing economies, India has immense potential, yet we continue to struggle with a high trade imbalance. This impacts economic stability, currency value, and employment. So, what's causing this problem? What can we do to fix it? And what are the obstacles in our way? Let's dive in. First, let's define the issue. A trade deficit occurs when a country's imports exceed its exports, leading to an outflow of foreign exchange. India has been running a persistent trade deficit primarily due to our heavy reliance on imports for crude oil, electronics, and machinery. In recent years, our trade deficit has hovered around 250 to 300 billion dollars annually. That is a staggering amount. But why does this happen? There are several reasons. India depends heavily on imports. Nearly 80% of our crude oil and 70% of our electronic goods and significant portion of our machinery come from foreign countries. Meanwhile, our export performance is not strong enough to offset this imbalance. While we do well in sectors like IT services and pharmaceuticals, manufacturing exports continue to lag behind competitors like China, Vietnam, and even Bangladesh. Global economic conditions also play a major role. When key markets like the US and Europe slow down, demand for our export drops. And let's not forget about our infrastructure challenges. High logistic costs and inefficient ports make it difficult for Indian products to remain competitive in global markets. So, how do we fix this? The government and industries need to take a multi pronged approach. First, we must promote domestic manufacturing. Initiatives like Make in India and production linked incentive scheme are already in place, but we need to scale them up. By increasing domestic production of electronics, semiconductors, and defense equipment, we can reduce import dependency. Second, we need to enhance our export competitiveness. Improving the ease of business, cutting down bureaucratic red tape, and offering incentives for R&D and innovation can help Indian industries compete globally. Third, we must diversify our export basket. Right now, we rely too much on IT and pharmaceuticals. We need to expand into emerging sectors like electric vehicles, renewable energy products, and processed foods. And importantly, we need to tap into new markets beyond just US and EU. Africa, Latin America, and Asian nations offer great opportunities. Trade agreements and foreign relations also play a critical role. Strengthening free trade agreements with key economies like EU, UK, and Gulf nations will open up new avenues for Indian goods and services. Lastly, logistics and supply chain costs need to be addressed. Investing in better ports, highways, and freight corridors, along with digitizing customs and clearance processes, can make a significant difference. Now, while these solutions sound great, implementing them is easier said than done. One of the biggest hurdles is regulatory and bureaucratic inefficiencies. Compliance requirements in India are often complex and slow down reforms. Infrastructure remains another major challenge. India ranks low in global logistics performance, making exports more expensive. Congested ports and inefficient transportation networks increase delays and costs. There's also the issue of financing. Small and medium enterprises, which form a large portion of our exporters, struggle with high interest rates and limited access to credit. Without financial support, scaling up exports becomes difficult. And then there's global protectionism. Countries like US and EU are implementing stricter trade policies, imposing tariffs and promoting local manufacturing. This makes it harder for Indian exports to penetrate key markets. On top of all this, many of our industries still rely on outdated technology, limited our ability to compete with more advanced manufacturing hubs. So, where does that leave us? India's trade deficit is a significant challenge, but it is not insurmountable. We have potential to boost domestic manufacturing, diversify our exports, improve trade agreements, and enhance infrastructure. However, unless we address the regulatory inefficiencies, logistic costs, and global trade challenges, these measures will not have the desired impact. The path forward requires bold policy decisions, innovation, and collaboration between the government and private sector. If we can successfully implement these changes, we will not only reduce our trade deficit but also establish India as a formidable force in the global trade.